A speech that I gave to home builders Valentine banquet in February of this year. It was our love story. And I started out with, it was very true because it was a sad story. 3 years at Jamestown High School, and I never knew her until the last 3 months of our senior year. I even voted against her for class historian. I had to vote a straight Washington ticket, which of course I went to Washington Junior High and she went to Lincoln. That summer, after we'd met and had a few dates, we spent late nights together because I knew I was going in the Navy soon. And it ended up she went to college before I left for the Navy. Her parents always left the hall door open for us, but one night, by mistake, they had locked it. So I climbed the trellis up the back porch to open the upstairs door. Her dad was coming down the hall to go to the bathroom, and I stood straight against the wall so he couldn't see me, and when he went back to bed, I ran downstairs and opened the door for Gladys. If he had seen me in the hall that night, he could have died of a heart attack. Jump back to 1945. Gladys graduated from JHS, so did I, and I went in the Navy, and we kept in touch.
So you'd visit, and you'd visit Harold?
I stayed with Harold.
Stayed with Harold.
I slept with Harold, and I had a nosebleed that night, and we woke up, and we're coming from blood from...
So that was because you were what?
I did boxing at Great Lakes, and I had, my nose was bunged up, and sometime during the night, the nose started to bleed.
Really?
And, oh yeah, what a mess, what blood's like, and Harold woke up to what? I had it all, because we slept together.
You and Harold thought the same.
Well, I sort of majored in sociology. I mean, that was what I was going to go into.
Really?
Yeah.
What were you going to go into?
Sociology, that's all. I just wanted to work with people. So, 45 and 46.
And we'd
then
been
in
dating that summer when I came back to the Navy. But then she went her way and I went my way for that whole year of that. Then she came back. And we still didn't know. And then you went to Arizona, and that following fall, we still weren't engaged or anything. And I went to Allegheny, and that was a whole new life for everybody. And she went to Arizona. Then came back from that, and then that fall I gave her my 5-side pin.
Mm.
You were committed.
That would have been 49.
That was a big deal. And then when I went down to Allegheny,
they sang to her. She had a serenade. She had the whole 9 yards.
Serenaded me, and you gave me a rose, or what was it?
Right.
I got some flowers or something from them.
Mm.
But that was a big deal in those days.
It was a big deal.
Yeah. To get pinned. Then I went and lost it.
Then she went and lost it.
And I had to put an ad in the paper.
And got it back.
And I got it back. Because I was working for the Post-Journal, so man, the minute I lost that pin, I didn't even want to tell them I'd lost it.
And then that...
Again, repeat the question, sir. You worked at the Post-Journal?
Yeah, yes, Greg, I worked at the Post-Journal. And I worked for display advertising, bookkeeper.
What did you do?
Bookkeeper for display advertising. And display advertising is all the big ads in the paper, not classified. And I measured all the ads, and then I billed people. And
how long did you work there?
well, about a whole year, right? Year and a half. Well, I started there when I got out of college in '47, and I quit when I got married in September of '40. That he would like to marry me, and my father always liked Lyle, so he said, sure, that would be fine. And so he gave me my ring on Christmas Eve before we went over to Ed and Elvie Marcus for our annual Christmas smorgasbord. And he said he was so nervous that he broke his shoestrings, and the door handle of the door fell off when on his way over to the house. And, but then, I was excited, although I kind of knew I was going to get a ring, I think. But I was all excited about getting a new ring and showing it off. It was a beautiful ring. And when we showed it to everybody, they were excited, but they said, well, it's about time. You've gone with them for 4 years. So, I mean, it was just something that wasn't a surprise to anybody because we'd gone together for so many years that they were expecting it. Fun time to plan for the wedding. And we had to get married on a Sunday afternoon because being a butcher's daughter, the meat market could not be closed on Saturday. So everyone thought it was strange. Everybody got married on Saturday, but we had to get married on Sunday afternoon at Chandler Street Baptist Church. And my brother Harold married us, and he was assisted by Reverend Ernest Nelson. But it was really neat to have my brother marry us, and he was a student at Bethel Seminary at the time. I remember that it rained to begin with, and but I think it must have cleared up. And we had Gordy Carlson was the best man, and Lyle always tells when they were in that little ante room waiting to go in, Gordy had our wedding band, and my brother Harold had somehow taken it from Gordy without him knowing it. And just before they were ready to go into the wedding ceremony, to walk in, Lyle says, "You sure you got my ring, Gordy?" And he said, Yeah, right in my pocket here. Right here in my pocket. Right. Hey, I don't have it. And there was just panic in that room, and he just got white. And my brother Harold let him suffer a little while, and then he finally gave him the wedding ring back. So that was a joke that I don't think Gordy appreciated at the time, but it kind of took the nervous edge off of him. And Lyle was so nervous that his mother gave him Nervine to take so that it would keep him a little cool. Saleswoman for Sears catalog office, yeah.
Good job.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Good job. She had a real good boss, and we had,
Yeah, we had a
real
lot of
good.
fun.
Mrs.
Christopher.
Yeah, and her daughter.
Yeah.
They were good people.
And Lyle worked for Monkey Ward's, and I worked for Sears, so we were kind of competitors.
Two-income family.
Yeah, too.
Yeah, Lyle.
And on Sundays we go out. This guy next door to the parking lot next door to that. we'd go over there the first time we went over and ask if we want to try the car out. He didn't really know who we were. And we'd go out and try the car out and take a ride out by County Lake, come back, you know, and then we really didn't care for that car. Well, then he found out, because it was right in our neighborhood where we went, thing, you know, and he got to know we did this the next Sunday. And we had fun with this guy, because then he got to the point where, you know, he'd always go up and get us a certain car because he was really selling it to us. For the last 2 or 3 weeks, this was in the spring semester, you know, summer was coming, and he'd just sit there and we'd walk in, he said, grab some keys and go. And you know what we're up to, and he's just a good guy. So we could get out and drive, and we'd take out to County Lake for a nice ride and then come back. And we did that to them all. He was just a good sport.
My cooking when we first got married was atrocious. And I'll never forget the one day I fixed scalloped potatoes, and they were just like poker chips. And scalloped potatoes and pork chops, and they were just like poker chips. And Lyle suggested that we go out and eat that night. So we did a lot of that, going out to eat, because I had never cooked before.
Erie.
Yeah. We lived in
Kearsarge.
Kearsarge.
You did?
Yeah. We
What
lived
were you
there.
doing there?
I was a junior assistant manager at Kresge's.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that. You weren't there long.
No.
3 months.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah,
why
that's
I
about
didn't know
it.
that.
Where we had to share the bathroom with the people downstairs. So when the people downstairs wanted to take a bath, they came upstairs to our bathroom and took a bath.
And the biggest thing that happened to us the whole time, I remember they invited us down to
Yeah.
watch a Joe Louis fight. I can't remember which fight it was. But we were down in the living room, you know, and we had, you know, TV. I don't even think we had a radio. And we were just kind of a lost world out the car in Erie. By with my man Casey. I had one employee, a black guy that worked for me. And we'd go down to get the mail and stuff, you know, from all, and also from the freight office. And he was my helper. And I'd push the cart and he'd walk beside me. He was the laziest guy you ever saw in your life. When we saw her car parked in the main drag of Erie, our car, and there was a parking ticket on it. I thought, well, you know, she's down looking for a job and she's pregnant and everything. We weren't doing it well. I'll take the thing off and pay for it. I go down and pay for the dumb ticket. I don't know if I put a nickel in the meter or not. I can't even remember that. But sure enough, of course, the guy came walking back up the street, put another one on. And she paid that. And we didn't have nothing, you know. Man alive.
Oh, that was just terrible.
Yeah.
All weekend at his mother's,
We
because she
stayed at
feed us
her,
good.
yeah. But then we go to her house for Sunday dinner.
Yeah, and then we'd go back. Henry would always give us
Gives me-
meat, so that he'd give us enough food so that we could live on that for the week.
And pepperoni and orange drink.
Yeah, we bought
That was a big thing.
down at the deli there. We'd always count our change, see if we had enough money for that before.
Well, that's where Greg was
born.
Conceived in Meadville and born there.
I know nothing about that house. Tell me about that house.
That's all I remember. It's kind of like the bedroom down here. It was dark.
Yeah.
What was it like?
Well, it was a furnished basement apartment. It had a big kitchen, but then it had a small living room and a small bedroom and a little bath, and it smelled musty. And it was a furnished apartment. And then when you were born, we put your crib right in the bedroom with us. And then the only way, well, you can tell them how we happened to buy this house, because we thought,
Well, we thought, yeah, we thought she was pregnant again. And I went up and told my dad, I says, Gladys is pregnant. I won't even see what he said, but him with one kid, and we were going to have two in well, practically 10 months. You know, and so he said, we got to get a house. I said, I know we got to get a house. So they were going to lend us some money, so we went around town, and every house we found, there was something wrong with it. We were satisfied. We wanted any house. Every house we saw, we wanted to buy. And they'd find something wrong with it, and we couldn't buy it without their money, so we'd accept what they said. We came up to this house, and my mother, she was the boss, really, in our family. She loved this little house. She loved it for herself, but thought it was good for us. So she said, this is it. And so we bought it, and we borrowed money from them to down payment, furniture, everything. But we didn't have nothing. And then we had no more. I went to the lawyer that morning and signed the papers, and Gladys's time of the month came around that afternoon. She wasn't pregnant.
but we got a
But we
house.
managed to get pregnant another 6 months after that, I guess.
And when you found out, the one thing, that in those days they kind of knocked you out. So you, the first one anyways, with Greg, they knocked you out. So you would sort of phase in and phase out. And the nurse kept telling me to push, push. And I said, well, it doesn't come out like Corv. And and that nurse to this day, Doris Gustafson, still, whenever she sees Lyle, she says, I'll never forget your wife.
That ends this musical tribute to Gladys. And, all I got to tell you is we love you, everybody here. My nickname for her, I think you've all heard, is Bush. I've been told it's not very good anymore, but it's still, that's the name between the two of us anyway. And
Thank you.